The war is over. A peace deal has been signed. The president went on television and promised that gas prices would drop, in his exact words, like a rock. So here is a simple question. Why did you still pay almost $4 a gallon this morning? You did everything right. You waited for the conflict to end, just like they said. You watched the headlines say peace, and the number on the sign barely moved. This is not a glitch. It is not greed, at least not the way you are picturing it. The strange truth is that the moment the war ended was never going to be the moment your wallet felt better. And to understand why, you need to understand one narrow stretch of water that most people have never heard of. A piece of ocean so small you could drive across it in under an hour that quietly decides what you pay every single time you fill up your tank. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why gas prices shoot up like a rocket, but always fall back down like a feather. Let us rewind to the start of this year. For a few months, things were actually getting better. The national average for a gallon of regular gas had dropped all the way down to $2.98, under $3. The cheapest it had been in a long time. Politicians were taking victory laps and calling it a big win for American families. Then, on the 28th of February, the United States and Israel struck Iran, and almost overnight, that calm fell apart. Iran sits right next to one of the most important pieces of geography on the entire planet, a thin channel of water called the Strait of Hormuz. When the conflict began, that channel became the center of the whole story, because here is the part nobody teaches you in school. Roughly 1/5 of all the oil and natural gas on Earth passes through that single narrow strait. 1/5 of the entire world's supply, squeezing through a gap of water at the bottom of the Persian Gulf. So when the fighting threatened to choke off that route, the world did not lose a little oil. It lost a flood of it. The International Energy Agency called it the largest supply disruption in the history of the global oil market. Not one of the largest, the largest. And when the supply of something the whole world runs on suddenly shrinks, the price does only one thing. It climbs. Watch how fast it happened. Within weeks, that comfortable price of $2.98 was gone. The national average blew past $4 a gallon. At its worst, drivers were paying around $4.60 for regular gas. In California, it crossed $6. But the price on the sign is only half the pain, because that money does not just vanish into thin air. It comes directly out of your life. Think about your own routine, the drive to work, the school run, the grocery trips. Now imagine paying $1 more for every single gallon of that, week after week, for months. When you add it all up across the country, the number is staggering. One analysis found that the average American household has paid around $450 extra on energy since the war began. $450. For doing absolutely nothing different. For just living your normal life. Stretch that across every household in the nation, and Americans have spent close to $60 billion more just to keep their cars and homes running. And that is the quiet cost of a conflict you never personally fought. It does not show up as a tax. There is no line on a form. It shows up a few dollars at a time every time you stand at the pump and watch the numbers spin higher than you expected. Now, before we get to the part everyone gets wrong, the part where the war ends and the prices still refuse to fall, do me one quick favor. If you are the kind of person who wants to understand the why behind the numbers, not just the headlines, hit that subscribe button. It is free, it takes 1 second, and it is the only thing that tells me to keep making videos like this one. Okay, back to the mystery. Because this is where it gets strange. So the war ends. A deal is signed. The president promises prices will drop like a rock, and then they do not. This is the moment that confuses everyone. If the conflict caused the spike, then ending the conflict should cancel it out, right? Like flipping a switch back off. But oil does not work like a light switch. It works like a giant, slow-moving ship, which, as it turns out, is exactly the problem. Remember the Strait of Hormuz. Even on the day a peace deal is signed, that water does not instantly fill back up with oil. First, the route has to actually become safe. Then the tankers, those enormous ships that carry the oil, have to load up. Then they have to sail across the world, which takes weeks. Then the oil has to be refined into gasoline. Then that gasoline has to be trucked to the station near your house. Every one of those steps takes time. And while the world waits for the supply to physically catch up, the price stays high. This is the secret behind that phrase. Prices go up like a rocket, but down like a feather. When fear hits the market, prices jump in a single day because fear is instant. But relief is slow. Relief has to travel by boat. And there is one more uncomfortable reason the feather falls so gently. The companies in the middle are in no hurry to lower your price while you are still willing to pay the high one. Costs rush onto your bill. They drift off it. So you are probably wondering, fine, when does my gas actually get cheap again? Here is the honest answer the experts are giving, and it is not what the politicians are promising. The people who study this for a living, the oil analysts who track every tanker and every barrel, are saying that even in the best case, it takes months for prices to come down in a real way. And to get all the way back to that old number, that comfortable $2.98, could take well beyond a year. Some analysts believe you will not see prices that low again until somewhere in the second half of 2027. So when you hear someone promise that gas will drop like a rock the second piece is declared, now you know why that is not quite true. The rock was the spike. What is coming is the feather. And here is the last piece, the part that reaches even further than your gas tank. Because oil does not just power your car, it powers almost everything. Diesel, the fuel that runs the trucks and ships and tractors, climbed even faster than gasoline, by close to 50%. And diesel is how nearly everything you buy gets to you. When it costs more to move a box of cereal across the country, that cost lands on the grocery shelf. Which means you feel this war again at the checkout line, even if you never connect the two. Jet fuel roughly doubled, which is why summer flights got more expensive. Even fertilizer, much of which passes through that same region, got pricier, which quietly raises the cost of growing food for the next season. So that narrow strip of water you had never heard of at the start of this video. It does not just decide what you pay for gas. It reaches into your groceries, your travel, and your monthly budget all at once. So let us go back to where we started. The war is over. The deal is signed. And your gas is still expensive. Now you know it is not a mistake. And it is not just somebody being greedy. It is the slow, physical reality of a world that runs on a fuel which can only travel as fast as a ship can sail. The rocket goes up in a day. The feather takes more than a year to land. And the next time a politician promises you that prices will plummet overnight, you will know exactly which one of those two you are really looking at. Drive safe out there. And maybe, just maybe, fill up a little less often until that feather finally touches the ground.